Hey everyone, welcome back to another Gravit Designer vector tutorial. In this one I'm going to show you how to vector on top of photographs. Specifically we're going to go ahead and use a portrait in this example. So I downloaded this really great portrait here from Unsplash, and that's the one that I'm going to be using today. So there's this really great trick that you can do in a photo editor like Photoshop. We'll be using Pixlr up here. That's called Posterizing. So let's get started. I'm going to click on Pixlr E, the advanced photo editor, and then I'm going to come over here on the left-hand side, click on Open Image, and I'm going to go find the image that I downloaded. For my students, this is going to be most likely in your Downloads folder. So this is a really large image, and when you use a really large image, it's going to pop up with these three other options. And basically, Pixlr wants to go smaller. So you can try all three. Obviously, Ultra HD is going to be a higher quality because the dimensions here are bigger, but it depends on your device. I'm going to go ahead and try Full HD. Click on Apply. Now again, if Full HD doesn't work, then you got to go down to the smaller size, of course. So here it is here. What I like to do is I like to make a duplicate. So I'm going to come over here to the background layer. I'm going to right mouse click or click on these three little dots, and I'm going to choose duplicate layer, and that way I've got a copy. So if I don't like what I do, I've got my backup. Okay, so here's the duplicate, and to posterize, you're just going to come up here to the adjustment menu, come down here, posterize. So I'm going to move this off to the side so you can see. Right now it says color 0. If you go ahead and you set it to 1, it's pretty extreme. I typically think the sweet spot is somewhere between 4 colors and 6 colors. You're going to get closer to the photograph if you go 6. So I typically tend to go 4 or 5. You'll see that you get more highlights, more midtones, more shadows, just more colors overall when you do that one level change. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and settle on 5. Now in the bottom left hand corner you can click and hold and see what it looks like before, and then let go and you can see afterwards. That's kind of cool. Alright, I'm going to click on Apply. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this again. So I'll just do File Save. I'm going to save it as a I'm going to actually save it as a JPEG. Give it a new name. And if you're doing JPEG, I do recommend high quality there. And click on Download. Alright, so once that's downloaded, I'm going to go ahead and close Pixlr, and I'm going to go to Gravit Designer now. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here, and I'm going to go to Print. And I'm going to choose paper size A4. That's going to give you a standard 8.5 by 11 size piece of paper. Okay, I'm going to come up here to File, Import, Place Image, and I'm going to go find that image that I just made. Let's see, it's in my Downloads folder, and here it is here. Okay, so it gets brought in. And there it is there. I'm not worried about the fact that it doesn't go all the way to the left and to the right. Certainly you can scale it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you'll see that if I, let's see, is it going to distort? No, it looks like it's keeping the resolution, so that's good. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and do that. There we go, full frame. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to the picture. I'm going to lock it so that way I can now do this. All right, so I'm not going to do the entire face and hand and the shirt in this video. I'm just going to show you how to get started. So I'm going to start off by excuse me, zooming in. I find that doing the face and certainly focusing on the eyes is a good strategy. So you can do this a number of ways. For my students, they can certainly use the exact colors that they see in the photograph. They, of course, can choose other colors. I oftentimes tell the students to take the personality and the soul of the piece or the subject of the piece and let that guide your color palette. In this example today, though, I'm going to go ahead and sample from the colors that are here in the photograph. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grab the pen tool, and you can really start wherever you want. I'm going to go ahead and start up here on the forehead, and I'm going to start on the highlights here. So I'm just going to kind of click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. And I'm just going to kind of keep clicking and dragging until I get basically the shape of this particular highlight here. There we go, and make sure that it is a closed shape. Now you'll see that it auto-fills in with white and it has a border. I don't want the border, so I'm just going to hit delete. And then what I can do is if I want to sample the color, I can just come over here to fills and click on the little eyedropper tool, and I can find another place. So up here is where the highlight color is, so I can look for it, and it zooms in, which is really cool, and just click, and there it is right there. Now let's say you can't find that same highlight color. What you could do, let me go ahead and choose a different color. What you could do is you could hide the fill, right, just so you can sort of see through it. And then you could go ahead and you could grab the eyedropper tool, sample the color that's right underneath it. So like there, and then it fills in with that color. So, you know, a couple extra clicks, but it's really great. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the next color, kind of this almost greenish, yellowish one. Now, as you're vectoring, you really have to figure out, you're not going to get every single little pixel. So I find that you want to, you know, go around and just really sort of try to capture the shape. So again, I'm clicking and I'm dragging, and I'm just pulling out those handles to make the curved edge. I'm just pulling out those handles maybe 1/4 of an inch. Now, I don't like how it's filling in as I'm making the shape. So I can just come over here while I'm still drawing and click on the little eyeball here to hide the fill. So now that way, for my eyes, it's just easier. And I'm going to go ahead and go right underneath this highlight here and make sure I make a closed shape. And there we go. So you can see it took the last color that I used. I don't want that. So again, I'm going to hide the color fill, take the eyedropper tool, and sample that color. I can always go back if I don't like this. If it's feeling like it's just too green, I can come up here to the color picker and I can just manually choose something maybe a little bit more yellow, and there we go. Now, the problem here is that, of course, it's on top. So I'm going to come over here, and I suggest you do this earlier than later. So I'm just going to come over here and drag the layer below, so that way the highlight is on top. Okay, now, I don't really know what's underneath because it's covering up such a big area here. So again, with this big shape selected, I might come over here and just temporarily hide it so I can see, oh, there's another highlight under there. So now I can go ahead and I can do that highlight. So I actually suggest that you do all of your highlights first, then maybe do all of your shadows, or do your shadows first, then do your highlights, then do your midtones. So basically, you know, do those all together. The last thing I'll do in this video here is I'll show you how to group things together. So let me go ahead and do one more shape, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I did a big patch here of the forehead. I want to put that underneath everything, and I need to make this other little lighter patch come back. I'm not in love with the colors, but I can always change those later. So let's talk about one last thing before I finish this video up. You're going to get a lot of vectors, especially if you're doing something like a face. A couple of tips. If I'm coming down here to do the nose, and the nose is the exact same color as this brown up here, I don't have to make it all one complex shape. The cool thing is that I can make it another shape, so it's smaller, it's more manageable. But as long as I make it the same color and they overlap each other, it'll work. It'll give the illusion. So I'll show you what I mean here. So if I go ahead and I do this, and I'm going to have it overlap like that, and then as long as I choose the same color, the viewer won't know, right? They'll think it's just one shape, but it's really a jigsaw puzzle of broken up shapes. So that's my first recommendation: is take a really complex shape or a large area like this, say this cheek here, and it's great and impressive to do it as one shape, you know, go you. But if it's easier to break it up into smaller shapes, then go for that. Okay, the very last point I want to bring up today is your organization. Now I only have a few layers over here, but pretty soon it's going to go crazy, especially as I start getting into the eyes, and it's going to be nuts. So up here where it says layers, you have the delete button here, but you also have this button here that says create new layer. So these paths can fit into a layer. This layer here is actually like a folder that you would see in other programs. So I'm going to go ahead and make a folder here. And you can see, even though it says create new layer, the icon is actually a folder, but it's called a layer. So it's a little confusing. I'm going to go ahead and double click on this, and I'm just going to call this forehead. Press return, and now it's called forehead. Okay? I'm going to move my screen over so you can see the little icon of the folder. So now I can just drag and drop these right on top of the folder, and they go inside. And you see that because there's something inside, there's now a little arrow here, and I can click on the triangle here, and it'll open up the folder and show you what's inside. So how do I move a whole batch of these paths, these shapes, into the folder at once? Super easy. Click on the very first one, hold down the Shift key, click on the last one. They're all selected. Now lift up on the Shift key, drag, and place it right in here, and then there you go. You can tell that they're all in there by simply opening and closing the folder, and you can see, in fact, that they are inside the folder. So I highly recommend that you group your sections of your subject. So I might do the eyes, both eyes in a separate folder, or each eye is in a folder, the mouth in a separate folder, or the ear in a separate folder. And then maybe one folder just for the head. And you can have folders, inside folders, inside folders. So you can be very, very, very organized. All right, thanks for watching this. I hope this helps you out, and happy vectoring.